and it's not people's fault for not knowing this, right? Because we all grew up thinking that mushrooms are a drug, right? We all grew up with that in our subconscious program. However, if you actually experience this medicine for yourself with intention, you'll realize that it really just connects you to your highest self. It connects you to the divinity within. And once you connect to that higher self, you're able to see some of those habits and patterns from your day-to-day life that don't align with your highest self. And you're able to cut the ties, and you're able to create certain habits, certain rituals that actually align and resonate with the person that you were destined to become.
Welcome guys. Coffee break with Yoga with Alina, the coffee break. There you go. I forget the name of my podcast. How did I do that?
It's okay.
And
sometimes we're too attached to our names anyways.
Yes, no, we don't need that. But anyways, Yoga with Alina, the coffee break. It's Monday, so we're starting our day with another amazing episode. And today I have a guest who I've been trying to get on this podcast for what now? Over a month, I think.
I'm hard to chase down, Alina.
You are. You really, really are. And so yeah, this is Jeremy. And if you're watching us, he is showing the peace sign. If you're not watching us, then you're going to definitely still enjoy listening. And we have a lot of topics prepared for you guys. So without me talking any further, I'm just going to give it over to you. Introduce yourself. Tell people what you do, who you are, what's happening, and all that good stuff.
Are we doing the shortened version? Like
no.
The elevator pitch?
We can do the big version.
All right. So I will start off by giving a shout out to my mom, Pamela Abramson. She's an absolute legend.
I love this.
And the reason I'm giving my mom a shout out is because obviously I wouldn't be here without her. And she actually gave birth to me at 42 years old, very unexpectedly. She proved all of the doctors wrong. And not only that, she actually breastfed me for over 3 years.
Wow.
And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I think all of that nurturing is a huge reason why I'm the person I am today. And yeah, so shout out, Mom, if you're listening to this. I love you.
We'll send her this. Send her this.
My mom follows me on social and stuff. She'll be
Oh, that's amazing.
She'll be definitely listening. And then my dad was a brain doctor, a neurologist for over 40 years. So I kind of grew up from an early age interested in the brain, how to perform at my best mentally, whether it was with sports, in school, just doing my best to get an edge any way possible. So fast forward, college, studied sports marketing and business at University of Oregon, thought I always wanted a career in sports as a sports agent, maybe own a team someday. And I actually got a job with my dream organization when I was 24 years old out of college. And I abruptly got fired one day. And 48 hours after that, I found out the girl I was dating at the time was actually cheating on me.
That was not a good day for you. I'll tell you that.
It wasn't a good day at that moment, but it definitely turned out to be the most.
It was the turning point.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the most impactful 48 hours of my life, because shortly thereafter, I really just did an audit on my life. I evaluated what I was doing. I was 24. I was living in my hometown back in California, and all my friends were doing the same shit, smoking weed, staying up late, drinking, like just doing things that I knew I was not aligned with anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I need to change drastically. I want to shift my environment because I know I have so much potential inside of me, and it's not going to come into fruition if I stay where I'm at now. So a couple months later, I packed up my Honda CRV, drove to Miami.
Why Miami?
So I actually had a friend that lived in Boca Raton.
Okay.
And we were going to get a place together in Miami. Things kind of fell through. I was already here. So I was like, well, shit, I'm going to try to make it work. And there's definitely a lot of challenges and obstacles, as there is in this human experience. But really just got on a track of pursuing my passions, which were really fitness, health. And I never saw those things as a career that I could support myself, support a family. But I just kind of followed my passions, and I started to train and coach a lot of people at this JCC in Aventura, Florida.
Okay.
And my reputation started to grow and build. Like, oh, wow. People started asking me, you know, hey, can you train me this many times a week, whatever. And I started to really enjoy it. I started to build word of mouth, organic momentum. And I just became obsessed with learning more about the human body and physiology. So I was like studying with Wim Hof, Joe Dispenza, just all of these different tools to elevate my energy levels, my focus, my brain health, my performance, my subconscious mind. And then I would say the biggest turning point for me in my entire 32 years of life was definitely July 2018 when I went to Peru for my first ayahuasca experience. And we can talk about that if you want to dive more into detail. But that was really a huge turning point in my life where I really realized how powerful I truly am. And I'm done playing small, and I'm just going to continue showing up in a powerful way every single day, committed to myself, committed to my mission, committed to serving humanity in a really significant way. And the last 4.5 years have kind of just been a manifestation of that we're still just getting started. So
okay. So what are you doing?
What am I doing in this moment?
In your life, with your life right now, what's your life work at this point?
Here's the thing. It's so funny, like how we're programmed as human beings, right? It's like one of the first questions that we'll ask a complete stranger is, what do you do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, are we really that fucking shallow as a culture? And I'm not saying this to you.
No. But why is it shallow?
So the reason I think that question, what do you do, is so surface level and shallow is because, like, it's attaching someone's profession to their identity as a human being, right? Without actually ever getting to know someone on a deeper, more intimate level. So for me, it's like, I actually want to know about the person's childhood. I want to know about their passions. I want to know what they're curious about. I want to know what their biggest challenges that they've overcome are. And I get it. Like, I understand that we live in a world that's very transactional, and people are always looking to transact and extract value from different people. I just like to peel the layers back more. I like to challenge societal norms, right? So like, that's why I'm the type of person that'll be at like an event and I'll sit down and I'll be talking to a complete stranger and I'll ask them a question and they'll like turn to me and they'll be like, whoa, you're deep. I'm like, really? I just asked you what you're passionate about. I don't think it's that fucking deep, but it just goes to show what we're used to when we're connecting with one another. It's like very surface level, very transactional. For me, I've always been someone that wants to just build a deeper connection.
I think that it really depends on the situation, though. For example, if somebody is just like, going a job for the sake of the job, whatever, like not really enjoying what they're doing, and then their job is really not going to tell us much about them, or like not really going to tell anything. But the thing is, it's you and me both, actually, we love what we do.
Yeah.
And what we do have become not like, it is a part of me. You know what? Yoga is a part of me. Like, it will tell a stranger quite a lot about me.
Right.
It will tell them something. I mean, there's going to be lots of assumptions and stuff like that. But in what you do, you're passionate about that.
For sure.
And you love it. So I feel like that can tell a lot about you. So it's like a situation, and in this sense, I think that you should actually answer the question.
Yeah. No, for sure. You're right. So the way I like to describe what I do is by saying that I help people escape the prison of their own mind and empower them to really unleash their God-given potential.
Okay.
And the way that we do that is through different modalities, all natural, holistic solutions. So tapping into movement, tapping into nutrition, adequate sleep, getting out in nature, connecting to the sun, and then really reprogramming the subconscious mind, because that's where all of our limiting beliefs, that's where all of our stories, that's where all of our narratives, that's where all of our emotional wounds stem from, is our childhood. So we can't make a significant change consciously. We have to peel back the layers and tap into the subconscious. And one of the great valuable tools that we use to do that is psilocybin.
Mm-hmm.
So I founded the Microdosing Mastermind 11 months ago. It's still very, very recent. And we've gained massive momentum. It's been beautiful to be on this journey and see the type of growth and impact we've created in the world. But essentially, we implement all of those other tools that I spoke about, and then we add the layer of microdosing, which is a subperceptual amount of any psychedelic, in our case, psilocybin, the chemical compound in magic mushrooms. And do you want to talk a little bit more?
I really do. I mean, we talked about it a little bit as well, like off camera and stuff. But I've done microdosing. I do like it, but I have done it in not really very conscious way, let's put it that way, and I don't really know much about it.
Yeah.
So as like someone who, well, you definitely know way more about it than I do.
Right.
And I was also kind of like, the way that I was brought up for all this, it is a drug, right? Like, so socially we accept that it is a drug. So for me, I was brought up with like, it was unacceptable at all. Like, you cannot do drugs. Like, that's it. Not saying that I'm.
But what about? But so you grew up in a culture that was very anti-drug.
Yeah.
Right. And what was your family's stance on alcohol?
Alcohol was fine because it was socially acceptable. I know. Well, again, I know that we can talk about it all day long. Like, obviously, alcohol affects us in many ways, that like worse ways than a lot of other drugs. Let's put it that way. But in the society, right? That's how the perception of the society is, that
of course,
drinking is okay and drugging is not okay, right? Let's just put it that way. So for me, just, it was like very, very, so for me, drinking is okay. It's normal. And, I can drink more or less, but it's okay.
Right.
But doing mushrooms, or, I've never done ayahuasca, which I really want at some point, but I want to be ready for it, and I know that mentally I'm not there, so I don't want to do it again unconscious. Like, I don't want to do it just for the sake of doing it.
Right.
And so microdoses, I was interested because it kind of felt like I was, interesting, but also that word micro makes me feel much safer.
Yeah. So let's take a step back. Because one of the things that I'm very passionate about is rewriting societal norms, because so many people have been following these societal norms for their entire life, and it's led to them living a miserable fucking life. right? They go to high school, they graduate. Guess what? They go to college. Yay. They black out every weekend. They study things that they don't even care about. And then they jump into a job that they fucking hate. And they become a slave to a salary. And guess what? They get a promotion 2 years in. So now that company has a bigger stranglehold on them because they're getting paid more. They get their 2 weeks paid vacation. They get their health insurance. And then that person turns 50 years old. They've been divorced twice. They got 4 kids. And they're like, fuck, what just happened these last 30 years? Right?
Yeah.
And that is why I'm not a fan of following societal norms. I never have been. So we'll talk about societal norms in terms of drugs and medicine, right? Because like I said, I grew up and my dad was a neurologist. So like I was able to see the Western medicine model pretty up close and personal.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw my dad and other doctors literally save lives on a daily basis, right? There's no doubt about it. However, in that process, I also saw just constant pill pushing, constant putting Band-Aids over bullet wounds. Because let's be honest, like how much can you actually help a patient if you're only seeing them for 8 to 11 minutes? You don't even have time to ask them the basic questions. Hey, how's your life at home? Hey, how's work?
And the lifestyle and everything, right? Because that is part of it. Like whatever issue a person comes to a doctor with, like it started with a lifestyle. I truly, truly believe that. And yeah, I know that we're probably on the same page with that. So, and without understanding that lifestyle, which a doctor cannot, not knowing the person, right? You can't, the pills are usually just Band-Aids. I 100% agree with you on that one.
Right. And we'll dive deep into all of these things, but just to address the topic of alcohol, right? Because in a majority of cultures, especially here in America, alcohol is the most normalized drug on the planet.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's completely normal to get absolutely intoxicated Friday, Saturday night, wake up the next day feeling like complete shit, not being able to function like a normal human being. And somehow we've normalized that behavior. Like it's absolutely mind blowing. And then those same people are like, bro, why are you doing mushrooms, dude? Like, why are you doing drugs? I'm like, dog, look at yourself. You're the one that is numbing yourself with this liquid poison. I'm the person that's actually connecting to real medicine that comes from nature that's been used for thousands of years to elevate our health, our healing, our happiness, right? And by the way, I'm saying that not to shit on people who drink, because I used to get blackout drunk every single weekend. Like I've been there. And I still love to occasionally have a drink with loved ones. Like I'm not saying that you should never drink. What I am saying is that you should really, not you specifically, maybe you specifically.
Me specifically.
But this is a shot directly at you. No, but like people should really ask themselves, why am I drinking right now? Like what is the intention behind this? Is it to actually enjoy an intimate connection with a friend, a family member, a partner, or is it just to numb yourself from your emotional pains and somehow, some way feel better about it and be more of yourself? Because, you know, a lot of us lack confidence, lack self-esteem, and we turn to drugs and alcohol to come out of our shell, right? And to express ourselves more. And it's unfortunate. Like I really just encourage people to cultivate unconditional love for yourself so you don't feel the need to need any substance, right?
I agree with you. And I mean, you mentioned it kind of, but I really want to like highlight that part. I think that intention behind any action is, you know, because drinking again can be very different, right? Getting blackout drunk and, you know, just like for the sake of drinking. I mean, college, yeah, maybe, I mean, we've all done that. Why not? But then enjoying, you know, nice, I don't know, whatever you're drinking, like wine, whatever else, because I usually do drink wine. And enjoying like a nice glass of wine over dinner, like with someone, with your friend, with your loved one, you know, why
I
not?
love that. Like, I love that. But unfortunately though, I don't think that's how most people
No, yeah,
approach.
I agree with you.
I don't think that's how most people approach drinking, especially in America. I mean, if you just look at the data, alcohol consumption absolutely destroys your liver, your brain, your hormones, right? We literally have a huge epidemic going on right now, and that is that there is literally a shortage of real men in America. Men that are performing optimally in the gym, at work, in the bedroom. It's because so many dudes are drinking their sorrows away. They're a slave to instant gratification. They're addicted to porn. They're working a job that they hate. They're completely disconnected from their passions and purpose. And we wonder why there's so much toxic masculinity in the world. It's because we have so many dudes out here who are just chasing a quick hit of dopamine and don't know how to actually put in the work. They don't know how to actually provide for themselves and their families. And that, in my opinion, is what toxic masculinity really is.
Yeah.
And that's a huge epidemic. And I know we kind of just shifted the conversation.
Yeah, we are, but it's okay. You know what? That's how this podcast is. Like,
that's how conversations flow.
Yeah, that's how the conversation flows. Like, wherever it takes us. Before we dive deeper into the episode, just a little reminder for you guys to check out yogawithalina.com for my full library of yoga classes, tutorials, courses, and so much more. And for your convenience, I optimized all the classes for all devices so that you can flow through the flows from your phone, computer, TV, whenever, wherever you want. Start your free trial today and test it all out. I hope to see you on the mat very, very soon. Let's dive deeper into the episode. I wanted to ask you something. Still being on the alcohol thing, I think I heard about beer. I'm just wondering if you know anything about it. It produces estrogen in the when you're consuming it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's either just beer or all alcohol. I don't know.
So there's something actually. We can actually pull this up real quick because it's a great question. And they're also found in some foods and drinks. So,
because I know it changes the hormone. Well, you mentioned that because it does affect your hormones, and all this, like, you know, the beer belly and stuff like that. That's actually estrogen.
It's a real fucking thing. I can promise you that there is not one man on the face of the earth who is drinking alcohol every single day or every single night, even if it's 3 or 4 drinks, which some people don't consider a lot.
It is a lot, by the way. I think the like the not the norm. Okay, there's no such thing as norm, but I think like 1 or 2 servings a week is like what is not gonna ruin your brain and liver.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say is alcohol is one of the most detrimental compounds to a man producing high levels of testosterone.
Yeah.
Right. So what I was going to say is there's very few alcoholics who can actually make powerful, intimate love to their loved one, to their partner, to their wife, because guess what? They're absolutely destroyed. Their whole endocrine system, their liver, their hormones is not functioning, right? So like if you need any additional motivation to stop drinking so much alcohol, specifically for a man, it's like, dude, don't you want to have high quality sex? You probably do. If there's one thing that you care about more than drinking, it's sex. Let's be honest. So stop being a slave to porn and alcohol and actually do things that support your libido. Eat real foods, right? Move your body, cut out the alcohol, and show up in a powerful way in the bedroom. It's as simple as that.
I mean, yes. And there's, again, okay, it's all really the intention, right? So
it's all the intention.
Why are you doing what you're doing? But yeah, the truth is that's the thing. well, as a person who is like in the dating scene right now, it is like a lot of men out there, not saying that everyone, but a lot of men do not know how to like take initiative, ask out. That is ridiculous.
Okay, this is a
As
great
simple
topic.
as that.
This is a great topic, and I think that would actually be a fun challenge for any woman listening right now. Is, let's say you're about to go on a first date or second date with a guy, and it's like, hey, let's grab a drink, right? Which is like the most standard thing.
Yeah.
Just fuck around with him. Even if you do drink occasionally, say, you know what? I actually don't drink. Can we do something else? And see what that guy brings to the table after drinking is removed. What's he going to say? Is he going to say, oh yeah, that's totally fine. Like, let's go to the park and like go for a walk, or let's go paddle boarding, or let's do something that involves nature or exploration? Or is he going to be like, oh fuck, no drinking.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? So that's a fun challenge for the ladies out there. But
it's interesting. And I think that, yeah, people need to be a little bit more creative with the whole thing. I was talking to someone about it the other day. I'm like, why no one invited me to Frost Science Museum? I actually have never been there. I really want to. By the way, guys, if you're listening and you want to ask me out, ask me to Frost Science Museum.
And before you go to the Frost Science Museum, you might want to take a little microdose. It might just make the exhibits a little more. Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
so
I'm
what
actually
does it
down.
do?
I'm actually down to fuck around and go to the Frost Science Museum. I've been once, but I haven't been for quite some time.
So what does microdosing do?
So before we do answer that question about microdosing, I want to mention, because you said something really important. I don't know if you caught it. So you mentioned that a lot of the guys that you've gone on dates with are indecisive.
Yeah.
Right? They struggle to have conviction and confidence with their decision. And again, this is a huge epidemic. A real man must be tapped in to his intuition, must be tapped in to being decisive. That is our job. That is our role. If you're a dude listening and you're always indecisive and you don't know what to wear, what to eat, where to go, like, you are not fully stepping in to your divine masculine. Because I think one of the most important qualities for a man to have is really have conviction with your beliefs, have conviction with your ideas, with your values. And the more that you can be grounded to those values and your vision, then that is going to be a guide for you in everything else that you do. But so many people, unfortunately, again, it comes back to a lack of purpose. Like, I see so many men, many of whom were my friends in high school or college, and they just followed that traditional route, chasing a paycheck, getting into a job that they thought was going to make them the most money.
I mean, it's safe.
It's safe, right? That's a perfect way to put it. They were chasing safety and security. In that process,
nothing is wrong with that, actually.
Nothing is wrong with that until you realize that oftentimes you've completely neglected your passions, your superpowers, your curiosities, and you've become, again, a slave to a paycheck, and you're spending a majority of your day working on things that you're not that passionate about.
You know,
I just don't think that's a way.
That many people don't even know what they're passionate about.
And that's a huge fucking problem.
That's a huge thing, because we don't know ourselves enough and we don't listen to ourselves enough. That's where meditation comes in. Guys, meditate. And that's how you start getting to know yourself. And that's how you start understanding what brings you happiness. Because a lot of people who are in that system, right, they don't even know what brings them happiness anymore.
And that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Like, I was at like Chase Bank a couple weeks ago, and the girl who was helping me, the bank teller, she was probably like 20 or 21 years old, and she actually like was following me on social media, and she's like, "Oh my God, I love your videos."
Oh, that's so cool. I love
And
that. I love when that happens.
and then I was like, oh, I really appreciate you. Like, so what are you passionate about? And she just paused and was silent. And she said, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I just remember walking out of there feeling sad for her and so many other people like her who are so young and they've been disconnected from their heart, their intuition, their soul, their passion, their purpose. And I would say like the number one thing that you can really ask yourself very simply is, if money wasn't an object, what would you spend your day doing?
Yeah.
Like very simply put, like what would you spend your day doing? Would you be creating art? Would you be teaching English? Would you be teaching Spanish? Would you be volunteering? Would you be, playing video games? Would you be whatever it is? Like that is a great question to ask.
I mean, for me, actually, I'm thinking about it now. I would do the same.
Yeah. Like for sure.
I would do the same exact thing that I'm doing right now. But yeah, that was, and I always say it, but for some reason, I was always in that mindset that you have to enjoy what you're doing. And I always say that the moment I don't enjoy something anymore, I'll stop doing it. So hopefully that's still going to be true, because I do check in with myself sometimes. And that's how I left PR, right? So I was working in PR and that's how I left it pretty much. Because one day I realized that, okay, I'm not happy anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not happy.
Yeah. It's a combination of like, yes, okay, I don't maybe feel the same passion, but being able to distinguish, is this just a rough patch? Because like in my journey, just there's many times where I've been almost, I'm like, fuck, is this worth it?
This is really hard. Yeah.
Is all of this work that I'm putting in every single day, every single night, is it paying off? Is it worth it? Are people's lives being impacted? Am I growing? Am I evolving? Am I actually moving in the direction that I want to be moving? And quite frankly, sometimes my answer to myself when I ask those is no. And I'm like, fuck, like, dude, be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself.
Those things get me like very, very depressed. It was actually, I want to say, earlier this week, I was, you know how sometimes you put out content, because both of us are content creators, right? And you put out content and you want response, right? And well, you want the conversation. And usually, my people are incredible. Like I do have that conversation. But then there were a couple of days when there was absolute silence.
You mean like lack of engagement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't feel like what I'm doing matters anymore. And I started feeling that way. I started thinking that way. And I was just like, fuck, what? Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't want to do anything. And
it's tough.
Yeah, it just spirals you down. But then the hard thing is to find it in yourself to push yourself back up. And for me, my environment, people around me, this is who brings me up, brings me back up. Because at this point, but I learned how to ask for help, and that's a great thing. I would not be able to lift myself back without my people around me, which hopefully one day I'll learn to do it myself as well. So
yeah,
who knows? Still growing, still learning, but yeah, at least I know how I can pull myself out of it. Yeah. So important to know that what you're doing is worthy, right?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, if you're somebody who creates content and that's a big part of your life, like it is for both of us, and maybe things go dry a little bit, you're not getting the feedback, the response, the external validation, you can start to self-sabotage. Like, is what I'm saying wrong? Am I just not charismatic enough? Am I not communicating effectively? And you can second guess yourself a lot. For me, it's like, I know that whenever I say anything or post anything, it's coming from a place of authenticity. And I'm not doing it to impress anyone. I'm usually almost never doing it to try to go viral or anything like that. I'm really just sharing something that I feel like is going to bring value to people.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have your expectations be exceeded and sometimes they're not met. And the best way to navigate through that is to not have any expectations at all.
I was about to say, it comes down to not having an expectation, not projecting, and being in the moment, being in the now. Wait, where do you have it?
Yeah. Right here.
Yeah, right here. You have the now. Yeah.
Yep. We got it.
So yeah, just being in the now, be without those expectations, projections, and that's how. But that's an art, and I mean, for me, I'm constantly learning to do that because that is not easy whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I think a majority of people watching this, listening to this, are a slave to external validation. I mean, I think about young girls, young women. A majority of them are incentivized and motivated to go to the gym or to look a certain way or to buy certain clothes to impress a dude. And vice versa. Most dudes are in the gym trying to get yoked, trying to get strong. They're buying the watch, they're buying the car to impress the girl. Right? And when you're coming from that place of lack, and understand that you are coming from a place of lack because it's a lack of self-love that you feel the need to get that external validation from somebody else, it's going to perpetuate this cycle of unworthiness, not feeling good enough, and you're always going to be chasing.
Yeah.
You're always going to be doing things that are out of alignment with your highest self.
That comes back to intention because there's nothing wrong with buying a watch, buying clothes, but why are you doing this?
Exactly.
Are you doing it for someone else or are you doing it for yourself?
1,000%. And that's absolutely true. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, not in our community, but I think a lot of people in general don't even understand what intention is, right? So like an intention is basically asking yourself why.
Why?
Like, what is the reason I'm doing this, right? Like, what is the reason that I came on this podcast with Alina? I wanted to connect with a friend. I hopefully wanted to bring value to everyone listening and watching. And I just wanted to have fun, right?
Yeah.
That's my intention. Why am I, drinking out of this glass bottle rather than a plastic bottle?
Yeah.
Very simple. I don't want to expose myself to thousands of chemicals that are going to disrupt my endocrine system and really fuck with my hormones. I rather do something that's better for the environment and better for my health and have this beautiful, bougie glass bottle filled with the highest quality water. So it's all about that intention. And once you start operating with more intention in every area of your life, it's going to bring so much more alignment, so much more peace, so much more fulfillment.
I'm thinking right now, when did I start using the word intention? Because it wasn't always for sure. And I know that because I remember being in college and I was talking to a friend, don't know, probably like about guys or whatever, night out or something along those lines. And I don't know. I do not remember what that conversation was about, but I do remember saying it's about why. It's all about why. So, and since then, for some reason, it kind of clicked for me. I said it out loud, and like when you say something, it kind of, you can explore it. It's almost like it's on your hand now. I don't even know why I have this visual in my head, but that's how I see it. And I kind of started exploring why. So for a little bit, I was walking around and pretty much every single thing that I was doing, I was asking myself why. And I think I was like, it was probably second, third year of college. And I never called it intention. I didn't know. I don't think that word was in my world.
Right.
I didn't even, I don't think I knew that. And then when I got into yoga, obviously that's when I started hearing that because every time in the beginning of the class, usually teachers ask to set an intention.
Good teachers.
Well,
I'm just kidding. A lot of shitty yoga teachers out there.
That is so true. Yes, that, oh my God. Okay. Don't get me started on that one. Those two week-long teacher trainings that produce teachers who then teach. And oh my God, no.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on that. But anyways, so every time I ask to set an intention, I actually think like, hey, how many people in the room just went blank? I'm pretty sure not one and not two. I think more than that. And because I know that when I first started taking yoga classes, not knowing much about yoga, just kind of doing it for, fitness purposes, let's put it that way. Every time I heard that just, I heard set an intention and I was just saying, whatever. I'm just gonna be here, whatever.
For sure.
And then it became like very, very, when I got deeper into yoga after, I think probably already after I started teaching, that's when intention became such a huge part of that's almost the most important thing that I do on the mat. Why? What is this practice for? And
sure.
It doesn't have to be a big answer, right? It doesn't have to be anything dramatic or like super, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, it really doesn't have to be that serious. It's literally like why I want to
have fun,
connect to my body in a deeper way.
Yeah.
I want to connect to my breath. I want to be more energized. It's very fucking simple. But the more clarity you have on it, the more you can just anchor to that when times do get challenging and you're like, oh, like I remember why I came here.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like times will get challenging.
Because we forget why we started doing it or whatever, right? Why we started doing something. And then going back, setting intention is so important for anything because that is something that's going to bring you back into right now. That every time the mind starts wandering off, and it's true for yoga, it's true for life. I think that whatever we're doing on the mat really translates to life. And that's why I think yoga is so beautiful because yeah, that's going to bring you back into this present moment. And that's the way to live.
So let's talk about the present moment for a second. So you asked me about microdosing.
Yeah.
Right? Microdosing is one of the most powerful ways to make deep, passionate love to the present moment.
Okay.
And the way that it's doing that is psilocybin, which is the chemical compound in magic mushrooms, actually decreases blood flow to the amygdala part of our brain.
Okay.
And the amygdala is this tiny little almond-shaped part in the brain that's responsible for fear. So people who struggle with bad cases of anxiety or even depression, they usually always have hyperactive amygdalas. They're always in a constant state of fear, like what's next? And they're on fight or flight, right? They don't have the ability to actually ground to the present moment. So what this medicine does is it actually starves fear from the brain and allows you to actually anchor into the present moment and experience that. And you can experience that in many ways. Yoga, meditation, all of these are great ways to further tap into the present moment. However, when you add microdosing on a consistent basis with intention, it allows you to really experience what that's like.
Well, it's a tool. How I see it, it's a tool.
For sure.
Yeah. So what do you actually like? Are you supposed to feel it somehow? Like when you microdose, do you physically feel something? Like do you well, I would assume emotionally, yes. Like what's happening?
Yeah, great question. So the way I like to think about microdosing is that it brings your life to a magnifying glass. So microdosing will essentially allow you to bring a magnifying glass to your life. So it will amplify different parts of your physical body, your spiritual body, your emotional body. What I mean by that is, let's say you have been sleep deprived for a couple weeks and you microdose. Well, usually this medicine, because it's operating at a higher intelligence, will give you the physical manifestation of you being sleep deprived. So you're going to start yawning.
Really?
Yeah. And you might be like, wait, why am I yawning? I thought microdosing was supposed to give me more energy and focus. Well, yes, if you're well rested, but in order to feel energy and focus, you need to make sure that you're resting and recovering, right? So there's been many times in my life where like I was going hard, I was burning the candle on both ends, working long hours, and I neglected some of my rituals and habits. And when I would microdose, I would get the yawns. I'm like, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Another really
Wow.
beautiful thing, another really beautiful, and that's what people, again, I don't think, and it's not people's fault for not knowing this, right? Because we all grew up thinking that mushrooms are a drug, right? We all grew up with that in our subconscious program. However, if you actually experience this medicine for yourself with intention, you'll realize that it really just connects you to your highest self. It connects you to the divinity within. And once you connect to that higher self, you're able to see some of those habits and patterns from your day-to-day life that don't align with your highest self. And you're able to cut the ties. And you're able to create certain habits, certain rituals that actually align and resonate with the person that you were destined to become.
Okay.
So it's really powerful because we can talk about the neuroscience. We can talk about the fact that when you microdose with psilocybin, you're creating neuroplasticity, which is basically just the idea that we're creating new neural connections in the brain. When we create those new neural connections, we're able to do two things. We're able to create new ideas, new beliefs, new behaviors. And this is why it's very helpful for boosting creativity, right? And the second thing is now we're able to remove some of those old patterns, habits, and addictions that no longer serve us because we're rewiring parts of our subconscious mind, and all change and transformation happens at that subconscious level, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, again, going back to like what we were saying a few minutes ago, we've been lied to, especially in America. We've been told that medicine is antidepressants, Adderall, Advil, Tylenol. These things are poisons.
When I came to the States, Adderall just blew my mind because, well, I do not support like pills and drugs in general, by the way. Just I think that your body can heal itself. For majority, we're not talking about actual like major illnesses or something like this, right? Because I think it's always there's time and place, but just popping pills for headache nonstop is just ridiculous because, well, figure out why you're having those headaches, and then deal with that. And I do not like that's the kind of pills.
Adderall getting you lit?
So Adderall, I tried it once and I didn't know what it was because when I went to UM and we were like studying for finals or something, probably midterms at the time, and everyone was popping that pill and I'm like, what is that? Like, oh, it's just like gonna, help you focus and everything. I actually didn't feel anything. I'll be honest with you. I did it once. I didn't feel anything. But then I was like, you know what? It's kind of interesting. Like, let me Google it. And I'm Googling it and I'm understanding that that's an actual drug.
Yeah.
Like it's an actual drug that is an drug in how to explain it, like in my brain. So not just like a medical drug. It's an actual freaking drug.
Yeah. Well,
and it's like Coke.
Well, here's the thing. The only difference between Adderall and cocaine is that one of them is legal and makes hundreds of millions.
And they're giving it to kids.
Oh, yeah. So let's dive deeper into this because this is another huge issue.
It's legalized cocaine. I really think that.
Yeah. It 100% is. And I mean, people even snort it like it is cocaine.
I know. I saw it.
Yeah. Like you mentioned.
It's ridiculous.
Like you mentioned, though, the only difference between Adderall and cocaine is that one of them's legal and one of them makes billions of dollars for these different pharmaceutical companies. And like you mentioned, they're oftentimes handing this to 7, 8, and 9-year-olds. And now, here's the scary part. What it's doing to the brain. especially a developing brain of a child, is that it is lighting up the frontal lobe of the brain, which is where our dopamine centers live, which is why you feel focused and motivated when you take these drugs, right? But what happens a couple hours later?
Well, obviously
you crash. You want another bump, right? And that is exactly what's happening. We are indoctrinating our kids with these addictive, destructive drugs and stealing their power away in the process, because now we're telling this young child that they need to take this pill if they want to be able to focus and get things done. It's an absolutely horrible message to send to kids.
With all that said, 7-year-old kid is not supposed to be focused and sitting down for like whatever 40 minutes or something.
I mean,
and it's normal for kids not to do that. That is okay. That doesn't, I feel like, okay, ADHD is an actual disorder that does exist and can be diagnosed, but I feel like a lot of people are being misdiagnosed with that. And it's just kind of like, hey, your kid is active, your kid is fun, your kid is like exploring the world. Let's stop this. Let's just stop that.
Like,
why not?
Yeah. I mean, listen, like you said, ADHD is technically a disorder, attention hyperactivity deficit disorder.
Yeah.
Right.
It can be. There are people with it. Like
But what people need to understand, especially the parents, is like the food that you feed your kids greatly influences the activity levels in their brain. So if you're giving them all of this packaged, processed
Cheerios.
Garbage that's filled with artificial sweeteners, artificial food dyes, you are going to feed into the hyperactivity of their brain. You are literally destroying their brain. And then the doctor wants to prescribe them these harmful amphetamines. And then guess what? 20 years later, that 7-year-old is 27 and they're still dependent and addicted to these drugs. And our medical system,
with time, you need more as well, right? So it's just, it kind of snowballs. And yes, it does bring a lot of money to pharmaceuticals.
And that's a great point you mentioned.
Yeah.
So going back to microdosing.
Oh yeah.
so like you mentioned, for any standard drug that is produced by a pharmaceutical, it is going to require you to take this drug for a certain period of time. And then after that duration of time, your body, your brain, your nervous system has adapted to that stimulus. So now you require more, right? If you want to feel those effects, we have to double the dose. You go from 20 milligrams to 40 milligrams. And then guess what? It makes it even more challenging to ever wean off of those drugs, because now you are so dependent, both physically and psychologically. And that feeds into the pharmaceutical business model, because a patient cured is a customer lost. They are literally only incentivized to keep you sick and on their drugs.
Though, how is and with microdoses, you don't need to increase the dose?
So that's exactly where I was going. Yeah. Thanks for asking. One of the beautiful things about microdosing with intention, doing it the proper way, is you should never really need to increase the dose of your medicine. I've been microdosing for over 3 years. I've been taking the exact same dose, 250 milligrams, for over 3 years. And we never take the medicine 2 days in a row, because I never want you to physically be dependent on it. And more importantly, I don't want you to be psychologically dependent on it, feeling like, oh, I need this thing. Where's my mushroom? I don't want you to experience that, because the truth is, you don't need to take this every day. Once you experience that magic of microdosing, it stays within you. Because now you see your highest self. Now you see what's possible, and now you're able
to digest this, right? So, like, I'm talking mentally. Like, the microdose brought some kind of realizations or something to you, and then you have to kind of you need time to digest that before you do another one. Is that the kind of?
Yes and no. So, what you're referring to is integration.
Okay.
Right. So, like, for instance, this is especially important if you do an ayahuasca journey or a big mushroom trip. You need to have some sort of system of integration, because like you said, there's going to be a lot of things that come to the surface. And if you don't know how to implement and integrate those downloads into your day-to-day life, you're going to feel overwhelmed. It's going to feel like a lot, which is why it's so important to really go to a medicine team, a shaman, a retreat that you really can trust, right? So they can help you with that process. You definitely don't want to do it alone. When we talk about microdosing, it's a subperceptual experience, meaning you're not going to be tripping. You're not going to be seeing unicorns or seeing crazy shit like that. However, it will heighten certain emotions. So maybe that emotional wound or trauma that you've been sweeping under the rug for the last few years actually comes to the surface now. And that can be scary, or it can be absolutely amazing because now you're able to actually face that thing and heal from that thing and stop dwelling on the past and start focusing on your bright future, right?
Yeah.
So it is a tool, and that's really what we teach in the mastermind is like, we're so intentional about every single thing that we do, and we really make sure that we have this community and conscious container where people have the ability to process these different breakthroughs and implement them into their life in a positive way that's going to benefit them, right? So it's crazy, like some of the stuff that we hear. I mean, one of the most common things is like a lot of relationships, especially when you get married and you have kids, the dynamic starts to change, right? And a lot of people that I've had the opportunity to work with and coach have lost some of that intimate connection, some of that fire, right? That might have been present earlier on in the relationship. And when we throw microdosing in the mix, it oftentimes, again, puts a magnifying glass to the situation.
Okay.
So now we're able to see, oh, wow, like I've been neglecting my partner. I've been holding on to this anger, resentment, and not showing him the love he or she needs and deserves. Or on the other side of the spectrum, sometimes people, again, will notice, wow, this relationship is not serving me anymore. This person who maybe I loved or was in love with 5-10 years ago, we've just gone on different paths. We've gone on different journeys.
That's what happened to me.
And we're no longer in alignment. And that can be really hard. However, I feel like anytime you cultivate clarity about a certain issue, it's a positive. It might require some challenges of like,
I mean, it's scary to implement that. Like you said, it's scary to implement things in your life. Like you a lot of times we need help with that, right? For that we have coaches, therapy, whatever, like all the tools and people around us as well. But yeah, sometimes we need a little bit of help to implement the whole thing, but understanding it is the first step, obviously. So that's
for sure.
yeah. Before we dive deeper into the episode, just a little reminder for you guys to check out yogawithalina.com for my full library of yoga classes, tutorials, courses, and so much more. And for your convenience, I optimized all the classes for all devices so that you can flow through the flows from your phone, computer, TV, whenever, wherever you want. Start your free trial today and test it all out. I hope to see you on the mat very, very soon. Let's dive deeper into the episode. I wanted to ask you something else. So the reason why I asked you about what do you like physically, do you feel anything or anything like this? Because every time I've taken a microdose, I do feel the difference. Like not physically, I'm obviously like functioning, on the normal level, and I just see the difference. I notice the difference in how I make decisions, in how I respond to something. But also I feel like I'm pretty in tune with myself on that. Like, and that is why I see it. I have a friend, and every time she takes a microdose, she's like, nothing. And I'm like, how? Like we've taken the same. She's like, that's a bad pill. I'm like, but I've taken, like, we've done it together. We've taken from the same whatever bottle or whatever, and I'm like, I feel it. What's like how is that? Is that normal that a person doesn't feel anything? Like that is it common that people don't like experience anything with that?
So my intuition tells me that your friend who isn't really noticing any difference when they microdose is that they have some sort of blockage happening that's preventing them rather from receiving the medicine. So I've also, this is pretty crazy actually. So I've done ayahuasca at this point. I've done it 8 times, like not like 3 different retreats, but 8 times sitting with the medicine 8 times. And there was this ceremony, and someone who was there, he drank as many cups as you could have possibly drank. He probably took 4 times the amount of ayahuasca that I did. He didn't feel anything. The next night, same thing. He didn't feel anything. Wow. Right? Finally, the 3rd ceremony we had, he felt it. He had a breakthrough. He had an experience. Now, what I think was blocking him from experiencing any breakthroughs the first couple nights is he didn't surrender. He was so attached to being in control. And this is so common for many people. This is the reason why.
That's the thing, like that's usually my thing. I'm the control freak one.
Right. So there's many different reasons why your friend, so there's that. She may have a history of antidepressants.
No, but she has done ayahuasca. She has done like mushroom ceremonies, and she feels those, like not super intensely, but she feels it. And one thing that we're talking, I'm like, well, I've never done ayahuasca. I did like an actual mushroom ceremony once in my life, and then so my body is not used to it, right? So when this when this, it's not a chemical. I was about to say when this chemical, it's not a chemical, right? When this medicine.
No, it is. So the way that I like to speak about mushrooms is that they're not a drug. They're not a drug. They're a medicine. However, they do have a powerful chemical compound called psilocybin, which is impacting with our serotonin 5-H2A receptor, which is why it's been found to be such a powerful healer for things like PTSD, depression, anxiety, you can name it, right? Go down the list. It's because it's impacting with that part of the brain, but continue.
Yeah, so because I'm thinking that maybe my body's not used to it. So when it enters my body, that's, I feel the impact. But, and my guess was that, because she has done a bunch of that, that's maybe why she's not feeling it. But then, I have you in front of me right now who has done it who has done ayahuasca many times, and like the probably mushroom ceremonies, you've done them too, I would assume. And you feel it.
Yeah. I mean, just like anything, there are very individual cases and situations. There's many reasons why. She may just not be like grounding sometimes to really feel the microdose, because it is subperceptual and it's a small amount. You really have to allow yourself to like close your eyes, connect to your breath.
Feel it.
Yeah, like really feel the expansion with your breath, feel your heartbeat, and disconnect from the hamster wheel, right? If you're doing all the same shit that you're used to doing and you're so just go, 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 then you might not feel it, right? And that's really why we're big on like teaching these tools to tap deeper into the medicine. Also, and it might just not be that high quality of medicine. That's also a possibility.
But also maybe I just went blank. I literally had a thought, and I went blank in a second, and I cannot even. Oh my God!
It's okay. Wow. So, yeah, I mean,
keep talking because I need to catch my thought again.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important you got it?
Yes, I got it. Yes, letting go of expectations.
Right.
It comes in a lot of ways. I feel like, what is the person expecting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're expecting to feel a certain way, but you're not. And then you think that you're just not feeling anything.
Right.
But the truth is you're feeling something that you cannot grasp because your mind is that way and like you're feeling that way. So it's like expectations. And again, going back to being present.
Yeah, it's subtle. And that's the biggest thing is like, I always tell our students in the mastermind, really be patient, because if you can experience one benefit, one area of growth per week, that is 52 levels up that you are climbing every single year. And a lot of times, some of those areas of progress are very small. Like, you might not be able to identify them. However, if you're able to be more present, if you're able to be less angry, if you're able to communicate more clearly, these are all massive breakthroughs. And these are the things that we experience in the microdosing mastermind with our students, is like they're finally able to get out of their head and tap into their heart. And that's another thing that this medicine allows you to do, is like really stop all the overthinking, the overanalyzing, the over criticizing, the over judging, and really just like take that 18-inch journey from your head to your heart, because that's where all of the flow happens, the presence happens, the love happens, the abundance happens.
Okay. So with all that, like, why would you want to, I mean, what's your thought on this? Let's say one mushroom ceremony, right? Same psilocybin. God, I had to speak it. Yeah, I had to. Yeah.
Vibing off that psilocybin. We vibing off that psilocybin. We vibing off that psilocybin.
Oh my God, I'm
we
feeling this.
vibing off that psilocybin. Yeah.
So you do one mushroom ceremony. It's more powerful. Well, I would say, right? Obviously, and you get like a lot of you probably will feel more, will have a lot of breakthroughs, and then we'll need time to work with that. But it's a powerful medicine. And then why would you say that microdosing is better? Like, so I'm trying to phrase this question, not what is better, because I don't like this wording, what is better.
I know where you're going with
it. But
it.
you know exactly where I'm going. Okay, yeah. Word it yourself.
So in general, most people operate their life with the word or. I'm going to take a big dose of mushrooms, or I'm going to try microdosing. I'm going to go out to dinner tomorrow night, or I'm going to watch a movie on Wednesday night, right? I'm going to take this job or pursue my passions and go all in on my side hustle. The truth of the matter is, we live in an abundant world. It's all about and. Okay. Literally, the biggest shift in mindset that someone can have listening to this podcast is stop using the word or and replace it with the word and.
I actually love it.
It's going to change everything in your life, because so many people limit the possibilities in their life because they don't think they can do multiple things. It's like, yes, you fucking can. You can have your cake and eat it too. Not or eat it too. You can literally create whatever fucking reality you want, as long as you stop limiting yourself with your language.
I started teaching myself that? Go into restaurants and ordering everything that I want.
Yeah.
And not knowing what I want. I want everything. I don't want to just, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to just have like one dish because it's the norm again.
Yeah.
Right?
So let's talk about it. I think this is like a really important topic that, like, as I just said, kind of like transcends to a bigger idea. The way that I like to approach microdosing is I like to compare it to brushing and flossing your teeth,
Okay.
right? That's something that you're doing on a consistent basis to maintain oral hygiene, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go to the dentist maybe once a year, maybe twice. I don't know many people who go to the dentist twice a year. Those are for the deep cleanings, the resets. And I equate those trips to the dentist as the bigger heroic doses of mushrooms.
Okay.
You should not be needing to do those every month. If someone is doing a large dose of mushrooms or ayahuasca or LSD, whatever it is, every month, I just think that's excessive. I think a majority of the time, those people aren't taking time to actually integrate the divine downloads that they're getting into their life, and they're just chasing the next high,
The
the
high,
next
yeah, they're
feeling.
chasing the high. That's when I say that this is unintentional. This is unintentional consumption, and this is where, okay, I think that here's the thing. This is when the medicine becomes the drug.
Yeah.
Would you call it that? Like that's how I would call it a
For
drug
sure.
then, because that then you need it.
For
Then you
sure.
need it either in your head or physically, whatever it might be. But you have this setting now that you need it.
For sure.
And it is very, very, I think that everything in moderation is incredible. And then again, keyword moderation, by the way.
I don't know how I feel about it anymore, actually.
Really? Why?
I don't know how I feel about everything in moderation, because moderation is relative.
Very.
So moderation to you might mean a couple drinks a night. Moderation to me might mean one drink a week.
Yeah.
Right? Those are completely different things. And there's some things that I think you should really work on completely eliminating from your life. Industrial seed oils, vaping, jerking off to porn.
Once.
I think these are the things that you really shouldn't even exercise moderation with, because they're so fucking terrible for your body and brain. Like, don't convince yourself, oh, only in moderation. I'm only going to vape when I have a couple drinks. And then you have a couple drinks more often because you know that allows you and gives you permission to vape. I know so many fucking people like this. They're like, oh, bro, like I don't really vape. It's only when I drink. And I'm like, bro, but I see you drinking every fucking night. And then they're like, oh, shit, right? Honestly, for me, it's not even as much, like, it's not as much of a turnoff when I see a woman vape as to when I see a dude vape. Like, if I was a woman and I saw this man ripping this adult pacifier of blueberry flavored smoke, I would not want anything to do with that person. I would right away know that he's fucking soft. If he's ripping the vape like that, he's probably also eating shitty food. He's probably also a slave to porn. And he's probably just doing other things that are extremely toxic and unhealthy for his body. Like, ladies, if a dude is vaping, cancel him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's true. Like, I see these dudes and they're like so attached to their vape. It's like their little blinky and they can't go anywhere without it. I'm like, what? And by the way, while we're on the vaping topic, vaping is literally, in my opinion, worse than fucking smoking cigarettes. It has been found to actually impact your dopamine receptors in a more powerful way because the smoke penetrates your bloodstream even faster. And that's why people literally are hitting these things nonstop. Like, while they're driving, while they're walking, while they're at the gym. I saw a dude.
At the gym?
Yo, I saw a dude. No, I'm not even shitting you. 2 days ago, he was at the gym, and in between sets, he was ripping his vape.
What?
And I was like, this dude is fucking soft. Like, I'm like, bruh.
It's actually bad for you. Just saying, it's bad for your heart. Well, okay. So here's what I'm saying about moderation.
Oh, yeah, sorry. That's where we started.
No, but it's okay.
I went on a rant.
I hate saying no. Like, again, there are certain things, obviously, you do have to say no to. But it's part of, like, love yourself enough to allow yourself things that you truly want. With all that said, obviously, like, how does a normal functioning brain and like a healthy body is gonna want vape, right? Okay, let's be honest. That's normally you would not want that. But I really don't like demonizing anything, you know? Like, for example, oils, you said, like, eliminate completely. And I mean, yes, don't eat foods with that. But you know what? If it's somewhere,
Yeah.
and don't go crazy about it.
Yeah. So this is a very important, and I agree with you. I agree with you for the record. What I'm saying is, I don't think a majority of people understand what moderation is.
Well,
Does that
yeah,
make sense?
it does.
I trust myself if I'm gonna do something. Like, I know I have the self-awareness to exercise what moderation means. I'm enjoying the shit out of like cheeseburgers, fries, like not every day, but like at least once a week. At least once a week I have those. And for me, I enjoy the shit out of it. What happens, and one of my biggest pet peeves is when I see people use the term cheat meal.
Oh, no, yeah, I don't like it either.
I'm like, what do you mean cheat meal? Like, enjoy your fucking food, okay? Even if it might not be a meal that's super healthy for you in that moment, at least enjoy it. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel shameful about it, because that guilt and shame is actually going to release certain energetic frequencies that are going to cause inflammation on the body that are more destructive than the food that you're consuming.
Than the cheeseburger.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, understand, hey, if you eat real, healthy, natural foods 80 to 90% of the time, and then the other time you just indulge and you have it whatever the fuck you want, you're going to be good.
You're fine.
For sure, right?
Like that one, that one whatever cheeseburger, one pizza is not going to ruin your health, right? The problem starts when people start doing it all the time and just going on that pattern. But again, I like you use the word slave a lot. Like that's the worst feeling when you need something. That's when you know that you're addicted, and you can get addicted to anything, really. Like any foods, any drinks, any like whatever. And the moment that you know that you feel the need, you know you're addicted. Check in with yourself, because I think that it's probably the worst thing, at least for me, like it's the worst thing to feel like I'm becoming a slave to any habit, even the good one. If I cannot, well, I would rather function, do my day with the morning meditation. Like I would rather start my day with the morning meditation, and it does make me feel grounded and great, and like it's a lot of things for me. Like that's my practice, but I want to be able to function without meditation. And
I feel like life is a meditation. Life is a practice of mindfulness.
What we call meditation is a state, by the way. Meditation is a state. It's not an actual doing something. So what we call meditation is the practice of concentration. So going back, if you're in the now, if you're in the present, technically you will be in those meditative states quite often during the day as well. But again, like I want to be able to function without even healthy habits.
Yeah.
Letting go.
Yeah. Like I just think the more we can become aware and conscious of what we're overly attached to, the more freedom we can create. Like, it's funny because America is home of the free, right? We always are like, we're always bragging about our freedoms. And I'm so grateful to be an American and live in America. There's over 350 million people in this country, and I would say 9 out of 10 of them are a prisoner of their own mind. They're a slave to something, whether it's alcohol, whether it's medications, whether it's being a slave to a salary. And the more that you can actually admit that and recognize that you are overly attached and dependent on that thing, the more you can actually create freedom in your life, because now you can actually take actions that are more aligned, again, with your highest self. Like, unfortunately, again, a lot of us are a fucking slave. We saw it this last 3 years. I mean, people are a fucking slave to the narrative, to mainstream media. They're injecting this shot in their arm because they want to be a guinea pig to something
beyond my understanding.
Like, I
And
mean,
people still do booster shots.
It is
I know.
absolute. Okay.
We are haters here, by the way.
No,
That,
this.
like, I really think that you should, like, yeah. Go. You say it.
No, like, as soon as the vaccine came out, I was immediately skeptical because who produces the vaccine? Pfizer, Johnson and Johnson, these huge pharmaceutical companies who have already established a track record at not giving a fuck about the health of humanity. Their incentive is to put as many of their products and drugs out in the world so you are a customer and you're a slave to their systems and you're dependent on their drugs. It's no different with the vaccine. And then after more of the evidence comes out with the vax, right, they have all of these vaccines that have never been used. So of course they're going to push these booster shots. And then you see people who have had multiple booster shots
And they
still
always
getting
have
COVID.
COVID.
And
I've never had a
Not
COVID.
only are they getting COVID, but they're transmitting COVID.
Yes.
The vaccine is one of the biggest crimes and scams of the 21st century. We're going to look back at this time, COVID-19, and be in absolute shock that we let this shit happen. That
Honestly,
we allowed this absolute hypocrisy to take place. It's mind-boggling.
I didn't love watching it, but I just noticed that how every time, like, there's the certain times when everybody was getting booster shots or whatnot, and always, because I work with people, like, I see that people just disappear. They get sick. Why do they get sick? Because it attacks your immune system, and your immune system is not protecting you anymore, and you're getting sick. What was the fucking purpose of doing a booster shot if you just got sick?
Yeah. And to piggyback off that, this whole time, for the first 2 years of the pandemic, not once did any of the mainstream media outlets actually promote real natural health. God forbid you should go outside and get sunshine. God forbid you should go to the gym and work out. No, they actually closed the parks. They closed the gyms, but guess what remained open? Liquor stores remained open because those are essential businesses that drive money to the big alcohol companies, right? And that is exactly the world that we're living in. So wake the fuck up. Like, really just look back at the last 3 years if you need any proof to see how ridiculous some parts of our society are, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. And then something else is like, something else that was just so insane to me was, I'm an outspoken person. I believe in speaking my truths, especially when I have very strong conviction with my beliefs, which I typically do. And I saw myself and many of my friends who chose not to get vaccinated literally be treated like second-class citizens.
Yes.
What?
You couldn't do anything.
What? And now look at what's happening. Now people are realizing, oh shit, there's 20 and 30-year-olds who are perfectly healthy, who got the vaccine, who are now having blood clots or having different health complications, right? And guess what? Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, they're not being held accountable for any of these adverse side effects for this vaccine that had 0 human trials. They're literally using American citizens and citizens all over the world as guinea pigs for their drugs so they can make money. It's absolutely criminal, and I'll keep on speaking out against it even though this whole COVID crisis is over. But it's not over.
It's not over.
Because they want to get all these vaccines out there.
It's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. It's ridiculous. I know.
I haven't talked about the vaccine in a while, so I'm glad we're talking about it because it's really just indicative for me of how broken the healthcare system is in the world.
They tap into fear, right? They tap into fear. Such a powerful emotion with such a low vibration.
Well, here's the real problem, Alina. Like, somebody has to spit the facts, right? Over 70% of the American population is overweight.
Yeah.
Over 40% obese. If you look at the people that got hospitalized from COVID, who got seriously ill, over 80% of them were obese.
Yeah.
So that is what we should be addressing. We should be addressing the root cause of why people are getting hospitalized from this virus, right? And it's unhealthy habits. It's eating like shit. It's drinking alcohol. It's all the other contraindications from these medications. It's not getting sunlight. A majority of those people who are getting hospitalized were also highly deficient in vitamin D. It's no coincidence. So we just need to be more awake and conscious to what's happening.
We have to be more curious, to peel a couple of more layers. Like we have to be more curious about ourselves, the society, and like passionate about that. Like be curious to understand yourself.
It's wild. Like, to be honest, I'm a very optimistic person. I'm a very positive.
Same. Well, I want to think so. I don't know.
I'm a very positive, optimistic person. I lost a little of that during the pandemic because I was watching a majority of people around the world be absolute sheep and just following every single thing that the CDC said, that the mainstream media said, without asking critical questions, without using their intuition. Exactly. And we wonder why so many people are settling for an average mediocre existence. It's because they continue following these societal norms and they allow other people to dictate their reality rather than actually taking 100% ownership of their life and their health and their family's health. And that was so alarming to me when I just saw, anytime I would make a post about it and people just getting so fucking upset and triggered. I'm like, clearly you have some unhealed shit. And like you saw, I mean, it wasn't a coincidence that the same people who were just like super pro-vax were also the people that usually, if you look at them, they didn't look very healthy. They didn't look very happy, right? There's no coincidence there. And I think it's just like indicative of.
And no, that's true. Like a lot of times. And also, again, maybe I had COVID without symptoms. I don't know, but I've never experienced COVID.
COVID or COVID?
How do you call it? No, I'm becoming insecure right away. I'm like,
no, I'm kidding, but it's COVID. It's okay. COVID. It's COVID.
I don't hear the difference. English is not my first language, so.
No, but I mean, my one hope is that people can look back at the last 3 years of the pandemic and realize that the government, that healthcare companies, that mainstream media do not have their best interest in mind. Mm-hmm. If you really want to create a life filled with health and happiness, you need to take 100% responsibility of your life. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. It's scary.
It is scary understanding that you can. Here's the thing. It's liberating. It's powerful, but it's also scary. You can do anything. You can do anything.
Most people are scared of their own power.
And most people don't understand this. Like you actually, or they don't think about it. But you can do anything. You have the permission. Allow yourself to do anything that you want. I'm giving you permission right now. So what are you going to do? And you can do anything. You can do everything.
This really good. Yeah, that's beautiful. There's this really amazing famous quote that resonates with me. Oh my gosh, fuck. It's this is it. This quote hits hard. I think it's so true, by Marianne Williams. It says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure." And I think that's so true because most people, if they really look deep inside themselves, know that they have so much power and so much potential inside themselves. However, they don't know how to maybe take action and tap into that. And if they did, what would that mean? What would that mean for their past self, their past identity?
A lot of times I do catch myself sabotaging myself. And it's at this point, I catch it that I'm doing it unconsciously. And that's when I, bring intention and I'm like, okay, what are you doing right now? But that's because I know my power And sometimes it is scary. And sometimes like I start sabotaging myself. Just, different methods can be different. But it's very important to just be in tune and catch those things as well. And by the way, no one is perfect. So like all that we're talking about right now, the intention and everything, there are things I do unintentionally, obviously.
Oh, of course.
Like that's, I've found myself to be a slave to a bunch of things. And the difference is that I feel from a lot of people is that I can catch it. And then I can choose to take an action or not to take action. But that's the presence, that's the mindfulness in itself. So
for sure.
Can you? I don't know if you want to share it, but can you think about the last time you realized you were a slave to something?
The last time I was a slave to something. I would say that honestly, like I wouldn't say a slave, but maybe like overly attached. I'll use overly attached. I mean, honestly, like even just these last couple weeks have been challenging with my business because we have certain expectations that we want to meet, right? And when I feel like those are not being met and we're not really making the ideal progress I want to see, I sometimes find myself like getting attached to like outcomes and results, like, oh, like we only did this much this week or this month, and like this is what we should have done or this is what we were projected to do. And also just the last couple of weeks have just been challenging from a business standpoint for me. But it's been big breakthroughs actually.